Bring your own carrier, BYOC. It isn't a new concept for folks moving their voice to the cloud, but as an industry analyst, I've grown very interested in what IntelePeer is doing in this space that goes way beyond the capabilities of legacy carriers and is redefining what BYOC is and why it is such an important solution. To learn more, I'm sitting down with Neal, Senior Solutions Engineer at IntelePeer, to dig deeper on why BYOC is becoming a best practice in cloud migrations for companies really serious about delivering the most responsive and reliable experience to their customers. Hey Pete, thanks for joining me today.
Hi Tom, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
So how do you define BYOC and how do you see it being used today?
Excellent starting question, Tom. Bring your own carrier, BYOC, is a process by which third-party providers are allowed to interface with hosted UCaaS or contact center providers to bring a range of services into those providers from the outside world on behalf of the enterprise. It's almost a split share of responsibility.
So I know cloud providers, they can provide voice for you. You just subscribe and you get voice as part of your subscription. Why would you choose to bring in another carrier to provide that voice?
I think there's really three main points that we see people make a decision to talk with IntelePeer and use us as that BYOC provider. The first, business continuity. We use the term disaster avoidance. The more complex things get, the more opportunity they have to break. If you are in a single source provider kind of topology and something breaks, it can tend to remove your ability to do anything to talk to your customer base. BYOC from somebody like IntelePeer gives you the opportunity to deal with an outage in your platform, be it contact center or hosted enterprise, and direct those calls dynamically to alternative forms of treatment so that your customers still have a way to achieve their particular goal, even though the majority of your system may be offline for a particular reason. That's the first, and to my mind, that's the primary reason, is you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. The second, communications workflow automation. It's really accelerated over the last 2 years. Customers want to be able to do things asynchronously. They don't want to have to talk to someone if they don't need to. That sets up a win-win in that if I have a contact center pool of agents and I use communications workflow automation from someone like IntelePeer at the network level, I can set up flows and interactions between my customers and myself that don't require my contact center agents to satisfy that customer need. It does two things. It gives the customer 24/7 access to getting things done, and it makes the contact center agent pool a lot more efficient in that now they can handle things that truly need that human-to-human interaction because the things that don't are now automated at the network level. The third reason, economics. Everybody's interested in how can I do things the most efficient way possible at the least cost. When you hook up with someone like IntelePeer for voice and automation services, in most cases, we can bring that suite of services in at a cost that's underneath what you might have to pay that hosted provider.
Great, but you're talking about BYOC, but a lot of those features aren't just ubiquitous amongst all BYOC providers. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely correct. One of the things the IntelePeer's done over the last 3 or 4 years is we keep an eye on how the relationship between enterprises and their customers change. Customers now want to use asynchronous ways to get things done. They want to use SMS. They want to use voice as little as possible. So we take a look at how things change and we implement those services that allow an enterprise to truly improve the customer experience so that you can get the best of both worlds. You can outsource the brains of your system, be it an enterprise PBX or a contact center, but you can also use the automation capabilities that we have to further enhance that customer experience journey.
And what solutions are you currently integrating with?
Today, we work with Cisco WebEx, Cisco hosted UCM, Microsoft Teams through Direct Route, soon to be an Operator Connect version there. We're about to launch with Zoom. We also interface with companies like Five9, Talkdesk, Twilio, InContact, Genesys Pure Cloud, amongst others.
Great. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. You mentioned disaster avoidance. Can you talk a little bit about how that actually works?
Sure. The big advantage in a BYOC environment with someone like IntelePeer is that we have control of that inbound call from your customer to your contact center or to your automation suite. If we extend a call to your provider and they don't answer it, we can pull that call back and we can offer a range of different treatment options based on what that enterprise wants to have happen should their primary system be unreachable. One of the things we use a lot is a term called no-code, low-code. Two quick examples. A no-code failover treatment could be we extend the call to your hosted provider, they don't respond. We immediately divert it to a network-based audio, allowing the customers to know that something's going on. Please try your call again later. That's more of a no-code approach. A low-code approach would actually add value to that same kind of treatment. So the call would dynamically flow to an audio, but it would then give the customer the ability to ask to be called back. It can capture their phone number, the date and time that they made the call, and then dump that information via API to that enterprise. So then two things happen. When their system restores, we dynamically restore traffic to it. It's not something that you have to call. It's automatic. And now I've got a list of the people who tried to reach me during that outage event so that I can proactively have my agents reach back out to make that sale or provide that customer service.
That's terrific. I think we saw during COVID, there was this mass migration to the cloud, and then we experienced several cloud outages, giving a lot of people pause about even if they should move to the cloud. But this kind of helps address that.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And any kind of best practice, if I'm an enterprise, you have to plan for what you want to have happen when everything's working right. But you also have to plan for what you want to have happen if specific outages happen, because there are a number of things that can go wrong. Pieces are pieces, pieces break. When you work with someone like IntelePeer, we've been doing this for a number of years now. We've seen a lot of different ways that enterprises design their backup plans. And we can help tailor what we can do to what your assets are in a backup situation so that it truly designs for your needs, not a generic, here's my solution.
That's awesome. You also mentioned workflow automation. I know you guys have a CPaaS offering, communications platform as a service, are kind of able to marry that with BYOC. Are you seeing a demand for that, and how do you see it being used?
We absolutely are. And then there's two real drivers. We talked earlier about consumers wanting to be able to control when and how they interface with a particular enterprise that they're doing business with. Automation definitely lets you do that. So now you've got a much better customer experience. As we all know these days, the customer experience journey is something that's key critical to people choosing to do business with an enterprise and choosing to stay with them. The other thing is making the most efficient use of your hosted facilities from an infrastructure standpoint and the human beings that you have logged into that. I want my agents, if I'm an enterprise, to truly be doing those things with my customers that need human-to-human interaction. The more that I can automate those things that can be automated, it's a win-win. My human beings work more efficiently to take care of the problems that need their attention, and I give the customer 24/7 access to take care of those things that don't necessarily need it. We're seeing a lot of movement in the space because there's a recognition that you can achieve both those goals now with communication workflow automation solutions from IntelePeer.
We've talked about the concept. Can you get a little more specific about how a user might build out just a sample automation?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you two. We have a company that we work with that their contact center is set up to help customers activate benefit cards like EIDC, WIC, et cetera. And they received a major contract from the U.S. government that had a very fast turnaround time. They were not able to spin up the physical infrastructure in that hosted provider and put human beings in seats to handle that new workload. So what we did is we automated at the network level the ability for card holders to activate their cards and then check balances and do simple things that traditionally required a human to do, but don't these days. What that did is it allowed that provider to use their humans to support those card users who truly needed human interaction at a very little uplift in terms of capital expenditure versus hiring, a couple hundred more people and adding a whole lot of assets. One other way, a very large pharmaceutical company, they were spending a lot of time on the phone, their agents to their patients, explaining side effects and benefits of particular medications, what we might call frequently asked questions. We automated the ability of those patients to get access to detailed information about those drugs, the benefits of them, the potential side effects. And we set it up so not only could it handle at the network side via voice call, but it could also happen over an SMS interaction. By taking that burden away from the contact center, again, we hit those two big points. We let the contact center personnel work more efficiently for those calls that required the human-to-human interaction, and we allowed that pharmaceutical company's patient base to now have 24/7 access to self-serve access to information that they deemed necessary, to do business with that company. So it was a win-win.
Terrific, Pete. As I think about this, it seems to me it's more about bringing a better carrier than just bringing your own carrier. And I think what you guys are doing is super exciting. And I just want to thank you so much for taking the time today to dive deeper into this.
My pleasure. It's a fun place to be in. There's a lot happening, and IntelePeer is on the leading edge.
Thanks, Pete. If you would like more information on BYOC and communications workflow automation for your cloud unified communications or contact center deployments, visit IntelePeer.com to learn more. Thanks for watching.